Jam, we're going to come back to them, by the way. Today, they're playing with us all the way up to 10. And that's more than 1 hour of getting back to them this morning. Now, for us this morning, let's jump directly into what it is that you're waking up to this morning, by the way. Let's say, Daily Nation, what is it talking about? It's talking about succession row, which leaves rich Moi kin broke. All right, former President Daniel Arap Moi, in power for over 2 decades, was also one of the country's wealthiest men, but barely 4 years after his death, some members of his family are finding it difficult to foot their bills thanks to an ongoing succession battle over his multi-billion shilling estate. You're going to read a story on page 2 and 3. There's also Senator's push for review of laws on the removal of governors. You're going to read that on the back page. No love, no marriage. Judge allows couple to divorce on grounds of lost feelings. You're going to read that story on page 3 as well. Households in flood-prone areas face eviction. That is according to Dr. President William RUTO, PhD. He's talking about how the government would evict families living in flood-prone areas. He directed the National Youth Service to provide land to settle those in the most affected regions. Now, the Kenya Defence Forces will also provide specialized services to protect people from the adverse effects of the downpours. That story has been covered on page 6 as well this morning. On the back page of the Daily Nation, the deeper details of that story is that of the senators changing laws on the removal of governors. They're talking about, or the move is aimed at ending the weaponization of the process. Good. Let's cross over then to the Standard this morning. Revealed there's a plan to put civil servants on job contracts now. Now, the employment status for all civil servants will be converted from permanent and pensionable to contractual terms if plans to be presented to the cabinet by Public Service Commission, Public Service Cabinet Secretary, adopted. Story has been covered on page 5. On elections, moment of truth for RUTO and Raila parties. We mentioned that this morning. Story has been covered on page 6, 8, and 9. How CBC exam will differ from KCPE and KCSE. Competency-based curriculum learners will be spared of the rigorous of 844, with a grade 12 candidates expected to fight for only 70% marks in a NEC national exam, the balance having been catered for through the continual tests. Story has been covered on page 4. 45 kills, tens of thousands displaced by raging floods. You're going to read that story on page 2 and 3 of the Standard this morning. All right. Klopp's rights farewell fizzles out. Timely as EPL title hopes fade. Hapa ndio tulisema na DJT, Everton walifanya kazi ya Mungu. Sasa conversation ni kati ya Arsenal na Man City. So this weekend Nottingham Forest itafanya pia kazi ya Mungu. Na Arsenal tunajua Spurs ndio sitaki kutumia hiyo jina. Unajua ningetumia jina lingine hapo nifukuzo on air. Spurs ni chaniseme mashemeji. Watadonate points 3 and that's it. And Arsenal, things are looking good for us. I'm telling you, we might clinch it. Who says no? All friends of football want Arsenal to win the title this season, and the gods of football are saying yes, they gotta win. Good. At that particular point, then, let me jump into what it is that we're going to talk about this morning in terms of our big conversation. There's just a lot of issues that we are getting faced with this morning. And indeed, when you look at how the government has been chatting or negotiating with the doctors, they did reveal that indeed they had agreed on 18, but just one issue, that is the payment that is supposed to be forwarded to their medical interns. Under that, the 2017 CBA that essentially also got them out of the streets. The interns in the country are supposed to earn upwards of 206,000 shillings. The government is saying they do not have the money, and the doctors are saying you gotta pay, you have to pay, you will. Currently as it is, the government has threatened to go back to court to compel the doctors to go back to work. Is this the right way to approach this particular issue this morning? Then this is the top issue that we're going to talk about this morning. Joining us this morning is Kipro Teach who's the UDA Southwest Regional Manager. We also do have Joshua Ndiani, or Dogman, who's a political analyst, and also William Seno, who is the President Solomonic Movement. That is our panel this morning. So let's then essentially start our conversation. And it's going to border on conversations that are going to tell us exactly where we were as regards this political conversation. Gentlemen, how are you doing? Happy to have you around. I would then start by welcoming Kiprotich. Teach to Lookuptv. How are you doing, sir?
Very fine, very fine. Thank you.
Heshimiwa hapa ni kwao, so wanasema the only thing wanafanya ni kufunguliwa mlango. All right. Kip, let me start like this with you, Kip.
Yes.
I mean, it looks as if the government is making proper movements on this particular issue for the doctors. And they have revealed that out of the 19 issues that the doctors had last week, they agreed on 18, but one, which is the payment of the medical interns. What the doctors have said, you have to pay, you will pay, and we want you to pay before we get off the street. Now the government is telling them, if you don't go back to work, we have the leeway to go to court to compel you to go back to work. I mean, it's a headline stance by both sides. Do you think the doctors are becoming unreasonable at this particular point? Because there's a promise from the government that indeed we will look into this issue as we get into the next financial year. So far as it is, kindly get back to work.
First, thank you for having me on the show this morning. Before I answer your question, I think I'll start from an aspect of looking at negotiation as a whole. So in negotiations, actually, there are normally what I call two principles of negotiations. One, in this sense, the first aspect is whereby in the negotiation comes to the table in good faith. Number two is the aspect of both parties coming into negotiation and embracing the spirit of what I call give and take. So to this far, we've said the doctors went on strike demanding 19 issues. And you have rightly put it that the government has acceded to 18 of those. And then only one is still under contention, whereby the doctors are playing the hardball. So when in terms of good faith, you can look at it, the government is very ready and willing to engage the doctors. And that is why both the national and the county government, I say to the doctors, this is what we are. But the doctors, out of all these 19 issues, there is nothing that the doctors wants to give in on. And then it begs the question, was it really about a strike we must be able, the doctors, we must now tell the doctors, look at the bigger picture. Our patients are dying in the hospitals. And I believe being a doctor is a noble profession. If you look at before independence, during the colonial times, the first hospitals we had were mission hospital. And those doctors who came from Britain and Britain were doing it for free, voluntarily, because it is an aspect of saving lives. But our doctors are playing so much hardball that we don't know the way forward. So the government is telling good people, we are willing to talk with you. We have talked and we have given you enough. We have not said we don't want to employ medical interns, but we are looking at the aspect of physical sustainability. 206,000 for an intern is too much money. We can't sustain. You know, doctors used to be paid such huge amount of money because, one, there are few doctors that were getting into the market. Now we are talking of 1,500 to 2,000 doctors graduating now into from universities coming to the field. And now we are looking at intern first, allow me to put it out, that are paid stipend, not salary. So look at all the professions. All of our universities are graduating hundreds of thousands of graduates a year. And nearly in all the professions they go for internship. Some even do internship for free. And doctors, why are doctors so special? We have engineers, we have lawyers, all of them are curial scientists who are A students. So we are not telling the doctors we don't appreciate your effort, the effort you put in school to come up. But let us be let us be realistic. Aspect of asking a stipend of 206,000, my brother, look, that is a salary of senior level management positions out here. Even in banks, everywhere else, they are earning 206,000 as salary. But doctors want to earn 206,000 as a stipend. No. The doctors, government telling them, no, we are not telling you go empty-handed. We are giving you 70,000. So the best doctor schools, you look at the aspect, because it has been explained in terms of, I've said, fiscal sustainability. So doctors, instead of doctors going to that negotiation, said, okay, you have given us 70,000. The government have told you we cannot afford 206,000. Can we negotiate on some, or maybe come to a middle level agreement? But they are saying either this or no. So doctors are coming to this on a clenched fist. They are not willing to budge. That is why the deputy SG or the chairman said, take all the 18 and give us this one. So is that good faith? So I believe the doctors are not genuine. Yes.
You gotta remember that this 206,000, it's not a new demand, because it was one of the few that was agreed to in the 2017 CBA,
Yes.
and it started becoming active almost immediately. I'll be coming to you on that.
Okay.
So now, let me start with you this morning as well. I mean, that headline stands from both sides, that there's no money. You gotta go back. The doctor's also saying you gotta pay, have to pay. If you don't pay, we're not gonna back. I mean, who's at fault here? 18 out of 19 issues have been agreed, but there's this one that they're still haggling on. Who is to blame in this particular step?
Thank you, Mr. Simba, for having me this morning. I almost got late, you see, because I had kind of a scaffold there at the parking.
Yes.
I was arguing with one of the few gentlemen that I met there on where to park my boat, because according to him, that parking space is for...
It is for cars.
Yeah, the parking space is for cars, but I came with my boat, and so we almost walked there. But all in all, yeah, that's the Nairobi that we have under UDA government, yeah? Where they forgot to allocate some space for our boats. But all in all, I blame the government, the UDA government, because 206,000 salary for the interns has been paid in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, even 2022. In fact, even 2023, they were paid that amount. So it should actually come as a shock to anyone in any service, in any form of employment, to have their salaries reduced, whatever you want to call it. My friend is happily calling it a stipend, hoping that a stipend should be lower than a salary. But it should come as a shock to anyone that you have worked your way, you have graduated, you are now a medic, you have spent money actually, because the last time I checked, I was being told that the cost of educating a doctor in Kenya ranges up to 4 million, because it's 600 per year in our universities, 600,000 per year. By 6 years, that's 3.6 million. That's only the school fees alone, leave alone other things like upkeep. So these doctors are actually expecting a return on investment, and they have been working with 206,000 expectation, and they have been, because they have been paid.
Yes.
They have actually been in the previous years, they have been paid that amount.
Yes.
So it should come as a shock to anyone that all of a sudden you are being there's a proposal that you are no longer, they will not be giving you 206,000. They have reduced it to 70,000 Kenyan shillings.
Yes.
So it should actually come as a shock to anyone. But to add salt into injury, Bwana Simba, how disingenuous is this government getting? Because you are telling us that we should live within our means, but at the same time, you are creating an non-existent positions which are unlawful, primarily unlawful, CAS positions, and you are paying them actually more than the members of parliament get, because from from the information that we have been given is that each CAS is going to earn 785,000 a month.
Yes.
And on top of that, there are also other perks and such as mortgage worth 35 million, and insurance, and so many other sitting allowances, definitely. Yeah, and not also mentioning the other benefits that government officials get through the back door.
Does it?
Government deals and tenders and so forth. So this is something that should actually not sit well with anyone. Anyone in the public service. Anyone, not only the doctors. And I know so many are going to complain. So this government is being unfair to the medics.
Does it?
Yeah.
Pretty much. I'll be coming back to you on that. Docman, how are you doing, sir, this morning?
I'm good.
Happy to have you around. But let's start like this as well. I mean, if you've agreed 18 out of 19 issues, somebody would like to think it forms the framework for you to get back to work, because it looks as if somebody is listening to your demands and they really want you to, they're really in the process of solving it, and they're promising you that this one that is left, let's leave it the way it is. Before June, we will agree on it, informed by the budgetary allocations to the Ministry of Health. On that basis, are the doctors becoming unreasonable to demand this one?
Thank you. Good morning for having me here, Simba, and for the viewers. Now, I think to start with is the doctors are not asking a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think the government has failed us as people, because number one, as if we look this thing into deeper, we'll see it's the hustlers that are suffering or dying, the so-called hustlers. If Lion now, me and you, can afford to fly our people outside the country, they fly. I have some friends who lost his mom in Kenyatta,
Yes.
you know, and I also have a friend who has a mom who has kidney, I don't know what, who flew the mom to India. So those are two different people, you see. So according to me, I would say the Kenyan government, the UDA government, the hustler government has failed its people. This was not one of the promises. Because as we can see, the doctors are not asking too much. I think what is happening, the government has chosen not to listen to doctors. Number two, the government has incompetent people running these dockets. Because if the government had competent people running these dockets, as you're speaking now, they could have sat down and come up with a solution or a way to work around, you know. But what I can see is pull and push. Who can do this, who cannot do this? So according to us outside here, we can say the government has failed us completely. We can't wait until, I don't know how many months. Each and every day,
Yes.
every hour, we are losing people.
Yes.
I can tell you, Simba, I have a friend who works in Mamarusi. Told me it's crazy. You go to the children ward, it's crazy. You do not want to see that, you know. It's really sad at this time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pretty much. But Dogman, I mean, 18 out of 19 issues.
Yes.
Is that not good faith from the government?
I think it is.
Yes.
Not really. Not really, because I think the doctors don't trust the government. That's the problem.
Doesn't.
We now don't trust the government. That's the problem. So if me and you are into some agreement or some relationship,
Yes.
and we have some trust issues, I think I would appreciate if you deliver 100%.
Doesn't.
The same way, bro, would appreciate if I deliver 100%.
Doesn't.
So according to me, the government, which is us, the people, and the government in place now, led by His Excellency William Samoei Ruto,
Yes.
could the best thing could do, sit
Yes.
down with these doctors. They can work on the 19/19, leave alone the 18,
Yes.
for the sake of the people.
Does that? It starts there. Now, this is where the conversation then starts. Trust. that everything that the government says they might not do it. Now, let me give you some background on this one as well. I mean, the 2017 CBA was agreed, and the doctors were given a couple of those demands. Number one, payment of medical interns, it was agreed, and the medical interns started getting paid, and then the rest of them were not essentially honored. That's why they started issuing strike notices that we go to the street, we agree on something, but you never get to pay it. So that's when now, when the government promises, Kip, you take with a pinch of salt. You're like, no, you've promised us before. In how that goes. See what Dogman is saying. You've promised us before. We've seen how that goes. So this time around, we have 19 issues. Solve the 19 issues. Now here's the question that I wanted to ask you on that as well. The government hasn't come up with a counter offer. Out of the 206,000 that the medical interns want to get paid, the government hasn't simply come up with an offer. They've said, we will look into that issue. They've not said, well, we can move from 70 to 100, or we can move from 70 to 90. They've said, we will look into that issue. But currently as it is, you gotta take it the way it is. Is it a lack of trust in a government? And you have to be guided by the fact that we had to wait for a strike this time around again for the government to call the doctors to the negotiating table.
Mr. Simba, your question is quite funny. Not really funny in a sense. In a sense, the way my colleagues have tried to blame the government on all these issues. One, I like to say, without fear of contradiction, there is no issue of sincerity or in terms of faithfulness on the government side. I started by putting out that there must be in a very good, for any negotiation to be successful.
Yes.
Parties in the negotiation must come into the table and negotiate in good faith.
Does it?
So when we are talking about 19 issues, and the government have acceded to 18 of them.
Yes.
If it was a school test, an exam, that is 95%.
Does it?
School. That exam.
Yes.
On the part of government. So when you said the government has not given any counter offer, 70,000 are over from government.
Just let's be guided by this.
Yes.
And I want to take you back to why the doctors essentially walked out of the negotiation table when they floated the 70,000. That the beginning of this strike was essentially of the non-posting of medical interns, and that's a policy within the Ministry of Health. In fact, that's why majority of them stepped out. They said, why are medical interns in this country not getting posted? Knowing very well they make 30% of the workforce of the healthcare system in the country. They went to the negotiating table, and that's when the Ministry of Health and the SRC released a document that was indicating that medical interns now are going to be paid 70,000. That was a surprise. The doctors didn't know that this was actually a negotiating item. That's why they walked out. Kip.
Yes.
On that itself, the 70,000 has never been there, was never discussed, was never a discussion item on the table. It was occasioned by the Ministry of Health and SRC.
Okay. Now, let me answer that. What started all this issue of non-posting of medical interns?
Yes.
Lack of funds.
Does it?
So the government is saying, we don't have that kind of money to pay you 206,000. But we are willing to post these medical interns on this particular figure. And I am coming back to who an intern is. An intern is someone who is learning on the job. Any graduate just from university. You cannot say you are reducing salary of 206,000. This person who is this intern has never earned that 206,000 first. From the first place.
Yes.
Is from university to internship.
So
we are giving you 70,000 as an intern.
Chip, the doctors disagreed. They said that this is a qualified doctor who needs just to get posted to practice.
No, you cannot practice without going through that internship period.
Yes.
Look at like lawyers. Lawyers,
Yes.
after graduating from university, you go to school of law.
Does it?
Even after graduating from the school of law, you must go through what is called 1 year period of pupillage.
Does
Just like what the doctors are going through 1 year for certification. For lawyers go for 1 year for pupillage in 1 year to be admitted as an advocate.
The
So there's
counter-
no difference in both.
The
So
counter
both
argument
you
is
are
that they
learning
make-
on the job.
that they make 30% of the workforce in the healthcare system in the country. So they're considered workers in the healthcare system of the country.
I'm saying let us not single out these doctors as a
Yes.
special kind of profession.
Yes.
Let us look at it in a wholesome kind of manner.
Does that?
In a sense that
Yes.
interns is a graduate from university. That is the first thing, and we are giving 70,000. Right now, let me tell you, my friend, public service has employed more than 25,000 interns in all fields: lawyers, engineers, accountants. They are paid 25,000. In fact, doctors are being given 70,000, and then we ask, how special are the doctors? Let them appreciate the
Yes.
the amount the government is.
Yes.
Before,
Yes.
before, before,
Keep-
before,
yes.
before,
Keep-
before,
keep-
before,
keep-
before,
keep- keep-
before,
I'll-
before,
I'll- and I will be there on your time.
Yes.
The Dogman just
no,
wants to.
before,
yes.
let me finish before you
Yes.
answer to me.
Does it?
Because I've said 18 out of 19 is 95% score.
Does it?
This one, my friend here,
Seno, William.
What do you call it?
William.
William, my
Yes.
friend William, is talking about government creating the positions of CAS.
Yes.
You know, what I applaud about William Ruto's government, he said, respect to the rule of law. When he appointed CAS for the first time, the court said it is illegal. So due process has been followed through parliament, public participation, through the public service, and they have given a go-ahead for the government to appoint CS positions.
Does it?
Issues of salaries are determined by Salaries and Remuneration Commission. That is a constitutional body. So CS, in a sense, will help the government in executing, especially cabinet secretaries.
Yes.
You have heard parliamentarians complaining that CSs are not appearing in parliament because of very serious engagement. Maybe they might be able to appear in parliament to answer questions. So that is
And
why
you know, Lion,
the question
we are
of
not
CS
getting-
positions
we are not
will arise.
getting-
Yes.
Yes.
Does that?
We are not
Dogman,
getting
yes.
we are not getting solutions to our problems because of such thinking. Like for my brother Kip, this UDA thinking, and this why we are in such a mess because of his thinking. You see, you can't say 18 out of 19, it's 95 according to the scorecard.
Yes.
Whilst our people, our mothers, our children are dying in hospital. So that's not a scorecard.
Does it?
You understand my point? Number two,
What is it?
it's not. If our people would not be dying, then we'll give it a score,
Out of this
my
19
brother.
19
But
issues
now,
is what
as we
caused
are
the doctors
saying-
to call
as we are
strike, my
saying,
brother.
we have had previous government. That's what my brother is forgetting. This is not the first government, the UDA government. We have had other governments. This is not the first strike. We have had other strikes for doctors. What has been happening? We have seen doctors going back to work with, just negotiation. You just sit down, have an MOU, and go back. But why is it not happening in the UDA government?
We have said the doctors
You
have
see,
refused.
why? Because we have incompetent people. Simple. If we had competent people in these offices, the doctors now would be at work because we have very nice MOU. Number two, again, he's forgetting lack of trust. If I don't trust you, even if you give me 99%, I still not trust you.
Does it?
You understand? So that's what my brother Kip is really forgetting. The trust issue. Number two, having incompetent people in the office. This government has incompetent people in the office. That's why we are failing. our
Mr.
people.
Simpa, you are even surprised by the way you started.
I'll be coming back to you on that because Kip, the couple of things that we'll be looking at as well. Seno, at this particular point, before I go back to Kip, because indeed, Anwar Guru came out yesterday and said exactly what they had agreed. And I'm going to read it to you, but somebody just punched holes in our argument so we see exactly whether what Dogman is saying is actually true in this particular state. Seno, and I asked Kip that the amount of money that medical interns were getting paid was never an issue fought with before the doctors actually abandoned those negotiations, when the Ministry of Health tried to get them back to the negotiating table. It is only until they realized there's a figure that has been reached to by the Ministry of Health and the SRC that the doctors were angered and they walked off. I mean, when we're talking about the faith of negotiations, what Kip is referring to this morning, I mean, if you're changing a number from an agreed collective bargaining agreement from 2017, at least call them to the table as SRC and the Ministry of Health and say, we cannot pay 206,000. Let's agree on a figure that is achievable. before you push it to them. I mean, is that where they got it wrong, first of all? Because that particular issue is what is keeping the doctors away from the hospitals this morning.
Yeah, Mr. Simba, I've actually been surprised by Mr. Ngetich. Looking at him, I can tell that he's a very young man. As a matter of fact, I think he's even younger than me. So I'm actually surprised that... I'm surprised that...
That is still to be contested. We do not know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, we would expect Mr. Ngetich to be speaking for the benefit of the doctors, and such a surprise that Mr. Ngetich is trying to justify the Kenyan shilling 70,000 stipend being given to the doctors by arguing that these doctors are just fresh from the university, that they are just young people. Well, why do they need 200,000? They have never had 200,000 before, So this is one problem that we are having, and I don't actually wish to have a situation where the youth are coming up against the youth. You see, why is a very, very young person coming up against other young people? This is the problem that we've been having. Look at it this way, because by trying to justify the 70,000 to the young doctors is actually justifying the 785,000 being given to the CASs. Now, let's take a look at the Kenyans who comprise of this new position, that is the CAS position. We have people like Evans Kidero, somebody who has served as a governor of Nairobi for a complete 5 years. In that list, we also have people like the former Migori governor, Obado, who has served as governor for 10 years. Now, Mr. Ngetich is very, very comfortable to have Kidero earn 700,000, but uncomfortable with a young person there who is starting his life, actually starting from scratch. And I don't think there's any other time that one needs a huge amount of money than when they are starting. Yeah, so because this is somebody who probably doesn't have a car, wants to drive. This is somebody who doesn't have furniture. This is somebody who wants to marry. This is somebody who doesn't have a home. This is somebody whose parents have sacrificed land, have sacrificed cattle to educate them to that level. So the parents are actually expecting some return on investment. Yeah, because at that time when they have completed this university, that long journey, the parents are now weak. The parents are sickly. They need medical attention. So Mr. Ngetich should actually have a Damascus moment, have his eyes open, and wherever and vouch for the youth wherever he goes, because to go to the consultation issue, you are very right, because whenever we are having any consultations, any discussions, it's just a paramount that we have the stakeholders involved. And the stakeholders in this matter definitely is the government, the employer, the SRC, and the doctors. But when this amount was being reduced from 206,000 to a paltry amount of 70,000, the key stakeholders were not in that discussion table. They were nowhere to be seen. It was only the government and the SRC.
Yes.
Actually, and in this case, I understand that SRC and the government is the same thing. It's all the government anyway. Yeah. So this is a dictatorship. So that let's dictate this amount to the doctors, and there's nothing they will do. There's nothing they will do at all. And this is another example of being so unfair.
Tazaya, Ngetich, let's look at what Anne Waiguru, the COG, saying this morning. And gentlemen, indulge this morning, because it's a proper response to this particular question that she put towards the medics in the country. That counties that have not provided medical cover to do so forthwith, that's what they agreed. So that issue for medical cover is not an issue anymore. Releasing of doctors for postgraduate studies to continue based on the county needs and longevity of service, that has already been agreed from that particular meeting. Employment of doctors based on availability of resources and staff establishments. Car and mortgage facilities to be set up within 6 months in consultation with the Treasury. Basic salaries increment arrears to be paid once funds are received from the national government in phases over 5 years. And I'm going to repeat this particular one. The basic salaries increment arrears to be paid once funds are received from the national government in phases over 5 years. So the doctors here who got salary increments, but they've never seen that money in over 5 years. We're going to continue. A new CBA to be negotiated with counties within 30 days after signing of the return to work form. So a new CBA again with the counties is going to be negotiated within 30 days. So there's another chapter as well that the doctors have to go through and teach on this particular one. Good. So somebody said this, and I'm going to repeat on this one. There it is. Can you also answer the number of medics who you've employed in Kirinyaga County versus WHO prescribed standards? Currently, as it is in Kirinyaga, there are 15 medical officers against a population of 600,000 as it is. But then when you look at what she's saying here, that employment of doctors to be based on availability of resources and staff establishment. Now, we continue the second one, where she's saying that basic salary increments are going to be paid to the doctors in phases of over 5 years once the national government releases that money. Yet, if you're seated somewhere listening to what the COG is saying, that you've negotiated a national CBA, now you have to go back to your county government, again, negotiate another CBA. And she's also saying here that, look, monies are going to be paid in phases over 5 years. But then you teach, what is the national government saying? The national government is telling county governments, we don't have that money that you guys want. County governments are fighting the national government for 450 billion shillings as a national revenue to be deployed to the counties. What are the doctors taking home? You teach, is it not just another promise as opposed to a commitment? You teach, are these just not promises?
Not really. Before I come to your question, Mr.
Yetish, hold on. Is it not a promise?
It's
Look,
a commitment.
there's no commitment here.
It's a commitment.
Hold on, Yetish. What do you see this commitment? I don't say it. The counties that have not provided medical cover to do so forthwith, good. That's a commitment. The releasing of doctors for postgraduate studies to continue based on the county needs on longevity of service, it's a commitment. But the rest of them, there's no commitment. Look, on employment of doctors to be based on availability of resources and staff establishments, it's just a promise. There's no commitment here. We continue that once the government releases our money, we're going to pay you in phases over 5 years. It's not a commitment. It is pegged on the national government releasing our money. But even the doctors are well briefed that this money is not coming anytime soon from the national government. DP Rigathi Gachagua has spoken on it, yes, that you'd rather remove our trousers and canes, but that money is not there.
I think there's a part you're confusing in that statement of the COG.
Does it?
One, the COG chair said, we will pay you once the government
releases the money.
No, the money she's referring to are the part of the money which is called default funds. You remember many a times,
yes,
the default funds are delayed in national treasury. Sometimes it takes 6 months, 3 to 4 months without releasing that money to counties.
Yes.
So those are the money counties are waiting.
Are you aware that the president has actually spoken and said that currently as it is, I do not owe money to the county governments? He spoke and said, for the very first time in our government, we can stand here and say that no counties are going to come and demand money from us.
It was about some months last year, but this, I think there's a delay of 1 or 2 months.
So if it was last year, why is this no money being paid then, Yatich?
Now, that is why the negotiations is happening.
Yes.
You cannot pay the money, yet they have not agreed on a return to work formula.
Yes.
Not even they have not agreed. The doctors have refused to sign the return to work formula. And then now those other things can be arranged and then payment made. Look at even the issue they was demanding about what do you call Linda Mama.
Yes.
6 billion was released from the treasury
Does it?
and they have been paid to hospitals. So it's all about government. It shows that on the government side there is a serious commitment to do all that.
Does it?
So you cannot pay these striking doctors any money. That is why even counties are saying now we are not paying even your salaries. Now yet you are on strike. So we are the government is simply telling good people, we are listening to you. And we have agreed, we are paying you this amount of money in terms of those salaries areas. Now, can we sign this return to work formula? And then now we make arrangements. Look at even the issue of medical cover. That was part of the 18 things we are talking about. Even issues of postgraduate status, I don't think it was part of it because counties, there is no county in Kenya, I can tell you with authority, that have refused any doctor to go for postgraduate studies. In fact, counties are sponsoring those doctors at postgraduate level. So they take study leave, maybe 1 year, 2 years, they are paid some full salary while they are on study leave. So government, county, both the national government and the county government are committed to engaging doctors,
yes,
helping the doctors to work in
yes,
good work environment, give them medical cover. You even mentioned issue of car mortgage and car loan, mortgage and car loan. So it shows a serious commitment on the part of government. That is why we are saying, we are looking at, from where I sit myself, I see a lot of insincerity from the doctors. One, you realize, even also the COG mentioned about the new CBA. For your information, Mr. Simba, the CBA we are engaging, talking about now, expired in 2021. Now, the reason we are these doctors are on strike on the account of that CBA is because what the labor law says, unless a new CBA is signed, even if the existing one has expired,
yes,
that is will still remain in force. So one, a new part of the return to work formula is return to work formula. We are giving you this and this, all those 18 issues. Now let's sit down and sign a new CBA. New CBA. It's not about county to county. It will be a CBA like the one we have at the moment, but a new one because the one we are talking about expired in 2021. So we are talking about the next one. So in all honesty, Mr. Simba, the government has shown commitment. What the government, to show you that the doctors are not seriously into it, how can you say now, discard 18, give us the one? Is that good faith? That is clenching fist. There is no, and in any negotiation I said there must be spirit of give and take. At least, what has the doctors given?
That's it.
In fact, every
yes,
the government has...
Is it okay for somebody to say they've also agreed to the 18, that that's also their give? That yes, we've agreed to the 18. We've not said no to the 18 of them. But there's one here that is very, very important to us, that you also have to sit down and agree. Is it also okay for the government to say, we're going to take you to court if you do not go back to work on the basis of this?
You know, the government is not saying we are not giving you this one.
No, sir.
We are giving you this one.
Yes, but there's no commitment on it. There's no commitment on it. They're saying take 70,000. The 70,000 was not negotiated upon. It's just a number that SRC came up with the Ministry of Health. They pushed to the doctors. The doctors are saying, no, you didn't negotiate on this one. We need to negotiate on this one.
Let me tell you issue about SRC.
Yes.
You know, SRC, unlike what my friend William is saying, is one and the same thing with the government. SRC is an independent constitutional commission, one of the Chapter 16 commissions.
Yes.
So it is independent from the government. It acts its own works alone. So for SRC to advise the government to pay the doctors 70,000, it was on account of many aspects they have put into consideration.
Yes.
I don't know whether we are together.
Does it?
So we're saying that CRC has advised 70,000. Doctors, can you take these 70,000? No, we wanted 206,000, and we have said the physical sustainability aspect of that 70,000 is not tenable.
Does it?
So, doctors. So the government is saying now we resort now to alternative means available. We go back to court, compel the doctors to go back to work.
Does it?
Yes, and we said sign. These are return to work formula. You remember even before, to show you the serious commitment by the government. Look at the people in the negotiation. A person in the caliber of the head of public service, and all the CS engaged, Minister of Labor, Minister of Public Service, Minister of Health, all the caliber the government started being led by the head of public service, who is directly answerable to the president.
Yes.
So it shows a very, very, very serious commitment.
So
doctors, please, if you're really mindful of your profession, that is saving lives, you cannot stick.
Well, let's look into this issue as well. Like Nyatish is saying, well, you got to look at it from both ends as well. After the doctors refused to come back to the negotiating table of them being told there's no solution to the last demand, that is the payment of the medical interns, that they got to take 70,000 and wait for what the financial year is going to say in the next financial year, they refused to come back to the negotiating table. The Ministry of Health said, if you don't go back, we're going to take you to court. If you remember, it's not the very first time the government is taking doctors to the courts in this country. Tested it, and you do remember they ran away, knowing very well that they couldn't sustain the conditions of the court system in the country. If you do remember in 2017. If you look at where it is right now, and I'll go back again, do you sense a commitment from what the COG is communicating about these particular issues? That under here, and I'll count them, there are 6 issues that she raised, and doctors are rightly saying that from here we can only see 2 commitments. The rest of them are just promises, and they're saying you want us to get back to work through promises and coercion, just like you've always done before. You promised us back in 2017, you coerced us, you gave us just a little bit of it, you broke the rest of the CBA. This time around again, you've come back with a promise and you are coercing us to get back to work again. Does it look like a promise and coercion as opposed to proper commitments in a negotiation table? William.
Well, I'm not surprised yet again, because this government is hell-bent, and it's the kind of government that wants to operate on is either my way or the highway. And we saw this very clearly the past few days, that where the government actually ordered the Inspector General of Police to handle the doctors. So actually, if this is such a critical thing and such a professional argument, I wonder why the government will want to deal with the doctors the same way they have been dealing with other political ulabalus like the maandamanos. So that tells you that we are having a government that is, let me say, trying to go the autocracy way. And the constitution that we have is actually genius, because it actually foresees a situation, or it foresaw a situation where in the future we would have such a president. And so in trying to protect the country from this shock, we had a devolution. And with devolution, such a critical sector like health was supposed to be devolved, fully devolved. But as we can see right now, it's not fully devolved. It's actually a shared function between the county government and the national government. Such that, and surprisingly, you see, the other aspect of that sector that is devolved, you come to realize that the county governments still depend on the national governments to deliver, and this is about things like salaries. No, the county government is also at liberty to hire these doctors, and after hiring, we still need to pay them, and we still need to pay them from our share of the national revenue, which is supposed to be cascading down from the government. But the government has not been dispensing these amounts amicably and sufficiently. We still have balances in these county governments from the national government. So it is my opinion, and I strongly recommend that this in the next constitutional review, we have some sectors like health and education fully devolved to the county governments. Because look at it this way, Mr. Simba. Suppose one of us gets involved in a road accident outside there. We are in Nairobi. So there's nowhere you can get medical attention. not even in the neighboring counties like Machakos. You run to Machakos, no service. To Kajiado, no service. To Kiambu, you'll get no service. So this actually exposes Kenyans completely, and it goes against Article 43, where it stipulates that everyone has the right to the highest attainable standard of health. So people will lose lives, and in this situation, combined with this current floods that we are having in the country,
yes,
things are going to be worse, because we know after such floods, we are expecting we will be expecting waterborne diseases. Yeah, so it is, in my opinion,
yes,
that health sector should be fully devolved in such a manner that if the doctors in Kajiado County decide to go on a strike, such a strike, then Kenyans, those Kenyans that reside in Kajiado County will have an option maybe to get the urgent medical attention that they need from another county, from a neighboring county, or even far away in Kisumu or maybe Mombasa. You know,
awesome.
Kenya should not be that hopeless, because right now what I'm expecting, if a Kenyan was in such a situation that he needs urgent medical attention, then I think the only option is to go to a neighboring country like Uganda or Tanzania, yes, or even India. So in my opinion, this constitution should actually be implemented in such a manner that it protects, yes, the people of Kenya from such a dictatorial regime like the UDA.
Here's what it is, Dogman, as we summarize this particular issue for the doctors this morning, that when you look at what the COG is saying, yes, a couple of them look like commitments. When she says that, well, the doctors are going to continue to go on their study leave, any other county that has not provided a full medical cover for the doctors must do so forthwith. It looked like something that is a commitment that we've agreed. But the rest of them look like promises, Dogman. And they're saying, well, it looks like promise and coercion, that we will look into it. Once the government releases this money, we're going to start paying up to 5 years. Now, gentlemen, you do remember that the COG, that's Anne Waiguru in Kirinyaga County as well, in I think in 2017 or 2018 thereof, was on the spot for firing medical practitioners in a county that is in dire need of more practitioners in that particular juris. Is it promise? Because the doctors have seen a promise before, Dogman. What is a commitment and what is a promise? And out of a negotiation table, why can't you get a direct commitment and say, as from next month, as from next year? We haven't seen it in majority of this. The doctors now, Dogman, have to go back to the counties and again negotiate a new CBA. They're saying within 30 days of signing the national get back to work formula. Again, another step that we might not know how it's going to go down on the county levels, Dogman.
Number one, I think as we can see,
yes,
from way behind her, we go back to the manifesto of the UDA government, and they gave us a lot of promises. Health, they will do this, they will do that, insecurity. So now they're in power. And one thing we thought, it's about health, education, and security. Those we knew will be first priority from the UDA government. Because we knew the people who are affected mostly with health are the hustlers. People who really affected with education, the other time we were discussing education, again is the hustlers, the called hustlers. Insecurity, again, is the hustlers. But now what we see from what the COG is saying, that are all sweet promises, and the doctors know that. There's no commitment. Those are all sweet promises. So what will happen if the doctors will agree to all these sweet promises that nothing will happen? Because this government 100% cannot commit to anything. Number two, this government is all speaking from different angles. If we had a very competent government, a government with good structures, we could have already seen all these channels sit down, call the doctors, and come up with a negotiation and come up with a plan and an MOU. But every time we see them trying to talk, they fail. Why? Because doctors have assessed the situation and have seen that 90% are promises, 10% are commitment. In fact, it's 99% are promises, and they can't work on that. That comes back to the government. I think we should not now, the government should be keen with the people, not the doctors now. Because as we started this conversation, we are talking about money, doctor, government. Lion, if you today, after this, if you visit a government hospital, when you come back again here, you'll have a very different topic from this. I think my friend Kip has not visited any government hospital.
Kip, have you gone to a government hospital recently?
Have you visited? Am you on UD insurance cover?
I like to have it as well.
Yeah. So, Kip, I think from here you should visit Mama Rusi, Kenyatta, Kindly, the children ward. Visit that. Then call Kip again here. I think we'll have a different mindset of what he's talking right now.
Pretty much.
So you won't talk about numbers and I don't know, all those numbers Kip is talking about, like real UDA guy. You will now talk about facts. And the fact is, what we need now, we need the doctors back to work.
Pretty much. Guess what, gentlemen? I want us to move into the last chapter of our conversation. We have 9 minutes left for this conversation. I want us to jump into what the country is currently facing. And Kip, I would like to start with you. You know, we're waiting for the president to speak, but we're sort of waiting to see when was this going to be declared a national disaster. Guess what, Kip? Not yet. Because once to declare national disaster, then we would hear that the national government has unlocked this amount of money that is supposed to go and help counties solve this particular issue. I would like to start with Nairobi. Johnson Sakaja looks like a man who needs help, not just from within the county itself, but from the national government. Are we getting it wrong, Kip? Why aren't we coming out to say that the floods right now have become a national disaster and we're deploying, not just the military, just like the president said, is that we're unlocking funds from the national government to go down to the county levels to help mitigate the effects of these floods?
Thank you very much for that question. One, allow me to clarify one thing before I come back to that question.
No, sir.
Health is fully devolved, like what my friend William is saying, health is a fully devolved function. What national government is only managing are the national hospitals, that is MTRH, NH, and the rest. The reason the counties are affected is because of the union. All the doctors in counties are under one union. So when a union calls for a strike, all the counties are affected. I think that put that matter to rest. On the issue of flooding, I think you've been waiting for the president to speak, and he spoke yesterday.
Were you satisfied with what the president said yesterday?
I'm quite satisfied because I know the president is a man on a mission. He put together a multi-agency team that included the county government. If you look at keenly those people who attended that meeting, Governor of Nairobi was also present. So we must agree it's issues such kind what is happening now, flood in the country, as what we call vagaries of nature. Actually, we as a people, we have no control over it. So what we need only to do is to put in place mitigation measures to ensure that our people are not so much affected. We save the lives of our people.
Would have you been a bit more satisfied if they would have said that we've released funds that are supposed to help the counties?
I was coming to that. So you remember in any budget, both in the county government and national government, we have what is called disaster management fund. So in that kind of putting out that meeting, that multi-agency team is now to meet and to see the best way forward. Like for instance, as a measure, initial measure, the president has instructed the KDF and the National Youth Service to start working immediately.
Are you making an inference into what the president has not said?
No.
Are we interpreting it yesterday? Because I had a chance to say, yes, we're going to release funds from the national government to go in and bolster what the counties are trying to do.
Yes. No, I'm not getting clearly.
It's actually
Yes.
confusing what the president said with what Azimio leader said.
Yes,
Because actually Azimio leader Raila Odinga would suggested that the government comes in and deploy KDF to deal with this matter.
My friend, Mr. Siba, allow me to finish.
Yes.
Before
Yeah,
you
1 minute.
Yes, 1 minute.
Okay.
The president was very clear. He instructed the force, a national youth service and the military to go into helping. And that was also part of the call what the former prime minister called the day before yesterday when the president spoke. So I'm not saying any different. But in fact, the information what the prime minister was calling is in sync with what the president instructed yesterday. So we expect now going forward, because we were not prepared to this.
Yes.
And I think especially the county government of Nairobi, the governor must up his game. Especially in terms of, I'm glad he put on hold now the approval of buildings, because we have seen buildings sprouting up everywhere with no plan on drainage, and we are now seeing the negative effects. So first of all, I'm sympathizing and empathizing with the people who have been, especially in Mathare and those slums, other slum areas who have been largely affected by this type.
Yes.
So we hope what the president put in place yesterday
Yes.
can help mitigate all this. That
Pretty
is
much.
all we can hope for
Yes.
now.
But I like the way you teach and said that I hope what the president put in place yesterday. But I didn't hear any amount of money that is going to be released from the national government to come in and help the county governments in this fight against the effects of floods. 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame, Simba, that the president had to wait for the opposition to chip into this matter to give him the way forward.
Your teacher is smiling. But you do agree on that.
So the government,
your teacher do agree on that.
Not waiting.
Walter. But Raila spoke fast, isn't it?
government.
What plan was it? Huh? What were we waiting for? I mean, what were we waiting for?
The regime is clueless.
Yes, clear.
The regime is clueless and also not bona fide, because they are actually coming later in the day. So we've not had we were expecting the government to break the glass measures as early as several weeks ago, but they had to wait until the opposition voiced in this. And even in the middle of it's such a shame, and this is very serious, that in the middle of this crisis, the leader of a majority went to parliament, and the most important thing that he could talk about is how the government should now procure a new presidential jet. Yeah, and I was wondering why should it be the priority, because the jet that we are having has not even crashed yet. But with floods, people are dying. So the government is not being serious, and I'm glad that Ngetich has also pointed out at Sakaja that Sakaja is not up to the task and it needs to pull up its socks. But in my opinion, Sakaja should be out. There's no socks to be pulled up. It should be out. The socks are already flooded.
Yeah. Guess what? Dogman, clear this conversation this morning. 2 minutes on hitting here funds. But if you look at what majority of leaders are saying, they're saying, well, we need help. What we have at the county government is not enough to help mitigate the effects of these rains. But the president just gave us a military to help the counties with the rescue processes.
100% Lion. If you are the president, same thing would happen. Let me ask you something. Fake fertilizer. Okay? You have fake fertilizer. We have the rains. So what are you expecting? The president is totally confused. As where he's sitting is a confused man now. So what is he supposed to tell us? I think that's why he's waiting for Honorable Raila to speak first. Because at the end of it all, right, left, center, I think he's a depressed man, my thinking. Because what we were expecting, I live in Mavoko. I'm from Mavoko. Lion, outside my gate, I can't move. This is just 5 minutes to my home, the Shell petrol station. You find it's a total disaster. Now we were waiting the president to come out. a week ago and say this is a national disaster. But still quiet. We are waiting for money to be distributed to the counties to help. But what's happening, we are seeing this guy is called Eric Omondi with a boat. He's the new president, I think so. So for us, what we are saying is that we have no hope. It's Kenyan for us, let's save ourselves.
It's Kenya for us. Let's save ourselves. Guess what? William this morning came and had an argument with somebody at the parking lot about why you're parking your boat here is a car park. Guess what? Gentlemen, always a pleasure to have you around. 15 seconds. If you can't play your band, yes, you can. Yes, keep 15 seconds. Yes.
We're also able to, we have a government. We should be able to support our government. Issues such as flooding is not a creation of the president. That is nature, vagaries of nature. And everything is being put in place to make sure the lives of our people are saved. And the government has a plan. One, you cannot say, I cannot allow
5 seconds, keep.
what Dogman said, that the government is confused. Look at in terms of proper plan, in terms of the economy, stabilizing of the shilling and every other thing, cost of living is coming down. We have a plan as a government. And I applaud the president for doing the best for the country.
Yes, well, we wait to see exactly what that is going to be. It is continuing to rain across many parts of the country. Nairobians are waking up and sleeping in rain. All that you got to do is be careful, just like Kip is saying, support all the processes of mitigating the effects of these floods. Guess what? We take a tiny breather. Once we come back, DJ T and DJ Jam right there on the desk. Gentlemen, always a pleasure having you around. Doctor, happy.
Nashukuru sana kwa tatua tatu. Kama hizo pesa zinaweza fikia walemavu kama sisi, lazima watu wabarikiwe.
Maisha imekuwa mbaya sababu nilikuwa nafanya kazi kwa klabu nyingine inaitwa Suitable hapa town Thika. Sasa wakati corona iliingia, hiyo vilabu ilifungwa. Kwa hii Sakura mimi nimeshukuru sana.
Nashukuru sana. Nasema mubarikiwe mpaka watu waboeke.
Leo nimefurahia sana kwa sababu hata tupati chakula nyumbani. Leo nimefurahia hata mama akiwa nyumbani ndampelekea furahi.
Asante sana tatua tatu, na tutaanza kucheza na tutazidi sana pia kucheza.
Open University of Kenya, which was chartered on the 3rd of August 2023, aims to revolutionize higher education by breaking down barriers such as cost, previous exam grades, and geographical location through online open learning at the comfort of your home, job, etc., thus ensuring accessibility to education for all members of the society. In a nutshell, Open University of Kenya leverages technology to deliver education.
Open University has brought a new dawn in the Kenya education system, where learners are able to access education in a flexible, affordable, and all-inclusive.
Intakes ongoing for May and September. For more information, call us on 0202000211 or 0202000212 or email us at info@ouk.ac.ke. Open University of Kenya, an innovative university for inclusive prosperity. Are you a junior secondary school, a college, a TVET institution, or a university, and you want to advertise your intake? Book now and advertise with us today on both Lookuptv and all our digital platforms. Call us today. Or email us on sales@lookuptv.co.ke.
Save a Life is a non-profit organization that has taken the front line in transforming lives in the entire country. So far, we have transformed life of over 100,000 people through our programs, which include medical support, youth empowerment, street family program, feeding program, and climate change. Join us today as we transform lives. As we always say, service to humanity is service to God. Save a life, transforming lives.
Next on Ukulima ni Mali.
Tuko kwenye zizi la ng'ombe. They call it the cow shed.
Ufugaji wa ng'ombe ina manufaa mingi sana. Lazima awe na chakula ya kutosha. Lazima uangalie akiwa mgonjwa tu hivi kidogo ndio hao wengine wasipate ugonjwa, you have to prevent it. 10, 12, 8 liters anakupatia per day.
Per day. Na kuambia ukulima ni mali.
Nutrition feeding yake sio ile ngumu, anakula kiasi na anajua kujipimia chakula yeye mwenyewe. Kuna pneumonia ya ng'ombe na freshen hawashikangwi sana na hiyo pneumonia.
Unajua nimeshangaa kutembea huku nakuta ati ng'ombe wanawekewa CCTV. CCTV
Ukulima ni Mali, every Sunday at 4 p.m.
As the night falls, we come to life to bring you a comprehensive broadcast from the numerous events happening across our 47 counties.
When it breaks, it matters, and each story is important.
If it's Thursday, join me